A rented back office, 2 blocks from the Boston Harbor. My desk is covered in 1919 corporate transcripts and metallurgical reports for the United States Industrial Alcohol Company. The history books call the Great Molasses Flood a bizarre tragedy. I call it corporate manslaughter. But to understand the sheer physics of this disaster, I need to take you back to the beginning. January 15th, 1919, the north end of Boston. A 50-foot tall, 90-foot wide steel storage tank ruptures. 2.3 million gallons of molasses hit the streets at 35 miles per hour. It crushes buildings, snaps elevated train tracks, and drowns 21 people in the freezing streets. When the dust settles, the company has an answer ready. They claim an Italian anarchist planted a pipe bomb at the base of the tank. It was 1919. The Red Scare was in full swing. An invisible bomber was a highly effective and very convenient scapegoat for a multi-million-dollar corporation staring down a massive wave of wrongful death lawsuits. But when you calculate the actual hydrostatic pressure of the wreckage, their terrorist theory collapses under its own weight. Explosions leave a specific mathematical signature. A pipe bomb blowing a hole in a tank forces the steel inward before the liquid pushes it outward. But the blast pattern in the north end didn't radiate from a single explosive point. The entire tank shattered simultaneously. Let's look at the blueprints. Molasses weighs 12 pounds per gallon. That means the steel walls had to hold back over 26 million pounds of liquid. To contain that pressure at the base, the steel needed to be at least 1 inch thick. The United States Industrial Alcohol Company used steel that was 0.67 inches thick. It was nearly half as thick as the math required. Then the temperature shifted. On January 14th, the temperature in Boston was 2 degrees. By the afternoon of the 15th, it spiked to 41 degrees. Molasses ferments when it warms. It produces carbon dioxide gas. And the tank wasn't vented. The internal pressure compounded against the fatally thin, brittle steel walls. The rivets didn't blow inward from an external explosive. They popped outward, like buttons on a strained shirt, decapitating a horse standing nearby before the tank even fully opened. There was no anarchist bomber, but there was a bomb. At least, that's what happens when you seal 26 million pounds of expanding gas inside a fatally thin steel shell. The company built a massive explosive device in the middle of a crowded neighborhood. They just called it a storage tank and painted it brown so the public wouldn't notice it was bleeding. Who benefits from the terrorist lie? The executives. They blamed a phantom anarchist to avoid paying the widows of the North End. Why should you care about a century-old flood? Because the corporate playbook hasn't changed. When companies build dangerous infrastructure using cheap materials in poor neighborhoods, they always have a scapegoat ready when it inevitably collapses. If you want to know what historic lies they're hiding in your state next, hit that subscribe button. And I want to hear from you in the comments. Do you know of any modern disasters where a corporation blamed outside forces to hide their own cheap materials? Drop the name below and I'll pull the files.